good morning, good afternoon. It is Sunday night, and yes, it is another week of us getting mobbed off by FPV companies and brands and giving us things that we never asked for. Tonight, we're going to be talking about new firmware updates that bring features to DJI as well as Avatar HD. Don't get too excited. We're going to talk about shilling of Radiomaster radios because there is an accusation, and we're going to talk about the radio versus the T15, and I'm going to talk about that as well. We are going to talk about the new Osmo 360 very briefly because I'm excited about that much about that camera. And we're going to talk about anything else that comes up along the way as well, including some stuff that arrived this week, which is the Wyvern link stuff from Emax, which has finally arrived. As everyone says, I hope you are all well. As Joseph says, I hope you've got your special SOC ready because you're going to need it for this first segment because obviously there is exactly new firmware for the Caddx and DJI system, which frankly is the most bizarre thing that I've seen, but we'll come on to that in a minute. Is there a special code to watch the stream now? Yeah. Definitely. It has been a less quiet week in FPV. There's a bit more happening this week. Obviously, the big news was this thing. Oh, the trouble that this thing has caused. Yes. Yes, it is a very nice radio, but I am going to address some stuff on that as well. We'll talk a little bit about the TX15. I might even do a comparison live to the T15, but I think it might take too long. But we'll put them side by side anyway. But yeah, look, it's been an interesting week. I actually missed the launch of this because I wasn't ready. I just wasn't ready. The video wasn't ready. So a video doesn't go out unless it's ready. And I wasn't ready. I hadn't had the radio as long as I would have liked. What do you think about the black AGO2 shipping with silver sticks? Yeah, it's a bit weird because the AGO2 is a little bit weird, and we'll talk about that as well because that's a worthy subject. But yeah, we are seeing a little bit of life out there in the FPV industry. Things are starting to level up a little bit. The AGO2s were a massive visual downgrade. I did mention this in the video, actually, in the review. I did show side by side. They are less, visual. There's less CNCing on the top end of them. And I guess that's how Radiomaster have been able to get the cost down on them, because the cost of the AGO2 has dropped dramatically over the AGO1. And in fact, when I was looking on the Radiomaster website, it's a substantial difference. AGO2, when we look at the price of the AGO2, they are a lot cheaper. $89.99, which is way cheaper, substantially cheaper compared to the AGO1's AG01, which in a kit is, that's the nanos, bugger. Set $129. So you are saving, a substantial amount. Will the AGO2 be okay for our Boxer? Yeah. Genuinely, from the back, I couldn't tell any differences between the AGO2 and the AGO1. I couldn't tell differences. Someone has said no folding sticks. Folding sticks won't work on the AGO1s and AGO2s. The stick would have to be smaller to allow it to not scrape on the case. That would be a problem. It's the same why there's no folding AGO1s. It's worth taking into account the GX12 has smaller gimbals. The gimbals themselves are slightly smaller. It is a different radio, but you are saving up. But from a back end perspective on the AGO2s, I couldn't see a lot of difference. I found it hard to see where the cost saving is. I guess it's in machine time, is what I would say the cost saving is in. I'm guessing it's in the amount of time it's taking to produce the gimbal, which is then allowed Radiomaster to reduce the cost. It's unusual for something to reduce in cost. For instance, if we take a look at the top here, so this is the AG. Obviously, we have the AGO1 with this full cut section. Let me just open up Radiomaster and then search AGO2, AG02. Yeah, they are visually different. If you look, so the gimbal is a lot more basic. So the AGO1, you have all of this very pretty CNC stepping and cutting all around there, all around this edge. Whereas the AGO2 is more simple. It's a single step and cut. And that, if you think about this, the amount of machining time for this, I'm guessing it's the machining time that's allowed them to cut the cost out of it, because it must be substantial. It must be. Yeah, there is, it depends, obviously, that's the AGO1s with the silver sticks. And the AGO2s have silver sticks as well. You did have silvers on the AGO1s as well, mind. Depending on the colour you choose. AGO1 definitely, I would agree. AGO1s are a nicer looking gimbal. It's more finishing work. Yeah. Yeah, look, it's... I think it depends the radio. See, the AGO1s did come with silver sticks originally. Someone just said, are snake oil. I won't agree they're snake oil. Look, do AGO1 or CNC gimbals, AGO2, make you a better pilot? No. But there is something very nice about a full metal gimbal. It has a much nicer feel to it. It's preference. Will it make you better? No. Does it make for a nicer radio? Yes. Just like, why do people go for higher end on some things? It's a preference thing. Longer lasting, less susceptible to damage if you were to drop the radio. They are metal after all. They're not going to make you better, but they are definitely nice. It's a treat. I will also say this, and this stands for the switchback. I prefer the metal switchback than I do the plastic switchback. It's a better feel. Ah, yeah, sorry. No, the AGO1s came with the viciously pointed crowns originally. That's a point. Yes, I remember. It's like leather seats in a car. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's the right term. So, yeah, it's the TX15 is definitely a nice radio. And look, there's a lot of hoo-ha about this. And look, I'll start on the TX15, actually. Let me get the goggles out of the way. So I'll start on the TX15. So, there has been... Ooh. Let's get that in the right height. Okay, I'm going to address some comments from Bruce, first of all. And I know UAV Futures actually put a video out on this and spoke about it. I was also mentioned, or at least not mentioned, but comments were shown. And Bruce put a video out saying he's going to tell the things that the others won't tell you because they're trying to sell you a radio. And I'm going to be crystal clear. I fundamentally disagree with the miserable old goat. And the reason I'm going to say this is this. I am never trying to sell anyone anything. My job is to show you the radio and for you to make the decision. Now, unlike Stu, who did say in his video, you don't need a new radio, it's not my job to tell you what you need. I don't give a toss what you need and what you don't need. Frankly, that's your decision, not mine. My job is to show you the radio and you make your decision from there. I'm not going to sit here and say to you, this radio is amazing, but you don't need a new radio. I don't. That's not my job. You do what you do. How you spend your money is your choice. I am always approaching a video from the perspective of you're either in the market for one or you're not. It's not my job to figure out if you should do this. My job is to say how it is and if it's good or bad. And you'll notice there was like no criticisms of this radio because I've got none. It fixes every issue I had on the Boxer, which was like minuscule. Issue I have number one on the Boxer, 2 position switches on the outside, and you couldn't easily upgrade that. It wasn't easily fixable. Complaint number 2 on the Boxer was the antenna, and it fixes that. And that's it. It is a Boxer-sized radio. There's my Boxer. There's a lot of people who have said, oh, it's a copy of the T15. It is very similar to the T15, but let's remember where all of these started, and this isn't even the beginning of that. This isn't the beginning. These are all inspired by this, all right? Let's not pretend that isn't the case. But this isn't even the first of this. The DJI radio is in this size class. The original FPV remote controller and the GL series of radios, they are all in this similar size. They're all inspired by each other. I think the naming is interesting, but look, Jumper and Radiomaster have been jumping around with the naming for some times. It isn't a TX15 class radio. It's a mid-class. I class this as mid in my world, mid-class radio. Basically, it's a Boxer with all of the bells and the whistles, but Radiomaster have decided to keep it separate. So they've decided to not name it a Boxer Max, Pro, whatever. They've decided to go back to TX numbers. So it's a TX number with a color screen. Boxer is staying. Boxer isn't going anywhere. TX16, if you want a TX16, the TX16 is the big one. I got the TX16 there. Look, if you want the TX16. TX16 is a massive radio in comparison. Massive radio. It's huge in comparison. I think the TX16 is too big. Genuinely, I don't want a radio this big. I don't need a radio this big. It's not poor man's, it's size. That is too big for me. I don't need that in my bag. There's nothing that this radio has I really need on this. And I don't need it. Oh, the pocket's tiny. Where's my pocket? My pocket's never far. My pocket is never far. The pocket's there. Like, my pocket is actually my bench radio. Do I ever think they'll make a new Zorro style radio? Yeah, I'm guessing not. Because it hasn't happened. But look, it's a mid-size radio. What it has is a colour touchscreen for the people who wanted a colour touchscreen. It has all of the programmable buttons now, and it has the dual band radio. My GX12 is away. It's a very similar size to the GX12 overall. I show the GX12 in the main video. Yeah, TX16 is fine for planes. If you want it, no sliders. No, there isn't. But there isn't on any of these radios. And look, people did say, why didn't you complain about sliders? Because none of these radios have sliders. Not one of these has sliders. So it's not in that class. I don't really think a radio of this class has sliders. Most of the bigger radios have sliders. So it's that simple. But What I fundamentally disagree with is this. Look, we had the comments from Bruce of saying, people, I'm going to tell you what those are. You don't need a new radio. It isn't my job to tell you if you need a new radio. My job is to tell you about the radio. As for the comments of selling and affiliate links, I'm going to be clear, and I'm going to tell you exactly how much I have earned from my Radiomaster affiliate links this year. Let me just find my phone, and in fact, I'm going to show you. I am going to show you what I have earned for Radiomaster this year. So, I've set the date range for the period we are in. Overhead. Ta-da. So, this is my total commission on Radiomaster this year. 1st of Jan to the 1st of July, because that's the current period. There is a little bit more to go on top of that. If anyone thinks I'm trying to sell anyone anything for $139.33, you are insane, right? If anyone thinks that is anything that is going to sway my opinion on anything, you are mental. That money would not have, almost certainly wouldn't have covered the electricity that I've used probably making and ending those videos, editing those videos. If it covered the electricity, it wouldn't have covered any remote on time. The only reason I actually use the Radiomaster affiliate scheme is actually quite simple. Radiomaster encourage their creators to use it because it gives them good information on how the creators are doing, and I trust Radiomaster as a brand. There are some brands that I trust and I use the links on, and it's not just to make a huge amount of money, it's really just that it covers a little bit of the cost involved in doing it. There is no way I give a shit about $140 from that side of it, right? And that's dollars, bearing in mind. If we're going to put that into pounds, it's about 100 quid. So it definitely wouldn't have covered it. I actually, and I don't want to get into this too much, but I did threaten to stop doing anything with Radiomaster at one point over something that's not worth talking about. But the truth is this. There's nothing I do is ever about the money. So nothing is about selling. Now, if you're in an industry and you have loads of people saying things that are not true about a radio. So this, a product. So this radio does all of this amazing, and we had glossed over all of this bad stuff, right? Using comments like, I'm going to tell you what they won't, is correct. Where there are people lying and glossing over things and not being honest and truthful, saying things like, I'm going to tell you what they won't, is completely valid. I've done it myself. But that, I find that BS saying it, that they're not going to tell you that you don't need a new radio, because the implication was we were only trying to sell radios. I don't care if you buy it. It's not my problem. If Radiomaster want to work with this channel and send me radios to review, I will do it. I love the products. They make great products, great radios. What's not to like? But it don't change what I'm going to say. If there was something I didn't like about this, I would be telling you. The truth is, there is nothing I don't like about this. That's the fucking problem. There's not one thing. That, I don't know what else I say. It's like I can't tell you something I don't think. And look, none of the Radiomasters are bad. If you want to buy yourself a cheaper radio, go and get the Boxer. The Boxer is a great radio. A great radio. The Boxer is a great radio. So, look, that's it. So, look, my comments on Bruce, the old goat. I think Bruce is amazing. Look, Bruce is fundamentally the reason many of us do this and are involved. But I don't agree with his comments. I don't agree with his stance. And frankly, he is wrong. And he is wrong in asserting what he was saying in the way he was saying it. I'm going to tell you what they won't tell you because they won't want to sell you. They want to sell you radios. That's bullshit. I'm not having it. You are wrong. If I'm not here to tell people if they want to buy radios or not, I'm here to tell you what I think about the radio. Now, if Bruce wants to review the radio and say, here's all of the things they didn't tell you, and half the wires are hanging off inside, and the screen doesn't work properly, and the switches fall off, that is fine. But he's not going to find that's the case because it's a nice radio. And that is that. So, what I disagreed with was the sentiment that we were selling a radio. It's not my job to sell. I don't give a fuck if Radiomaster sell them or not, frankly. If anyone thinks I do anything for a radio, there is not... Look, no one cannot afford a radio. So, it is what it is. Now, as for the radio itself, there was a lot of comments, people asking about a comparison to the TX15. I am doing that in a separate... Oh, that's not the right button. I am doing that in a separate video. I've already started recording it, but I'm going to do a direct comparison. It is a no-brainer over the T15, and it's just based on price. If you look at the pricing of the T15, this radio is at $200 everywhere. This radio is less than $200. And when I'm doing this comparison, I'm not talking about the Max. I'm talking about the standard versions, although I don't have the standard version to confirm it. But from a perspective, it makes no sense to buy the T15 over the TX15. The TX15 is a better radio in every way, from the switches, from the quality, from the chipset. Remember, the T15 is an F4, H7, dual band Express LRS, single band Express LRS based on the older chipset. It is a better choice. There's only like one thing I can tell you is better on this radio, and I think it's faster at charging. Very, very slightly faster at charging than this one. Very slightly faster. The screen is also much better on the TX15. When you lay them side by side, the colours, it's a brighter screen than on the T15, but even the colours are better. Surprising how washed out the screen is on this compared to this. Honestly, if I put them both on, you'll see it, because I set them up. I basically set them up the same, and I'll put them on so you can see it quickly. Let me change the model. Yes. The colours are not the same between the screens at all. It's surprising how different it is. If I go overhead, if you look between them, right, the colours on the Radiomaster are better in every way. The Radiomaster screen, this has quite a washed out look to it. It's got like a haze to it, whereas the screen on the Radiomaster is better. It's a brighter screen as well. It's quite washed out on the T15 compared to the TX15. I was surprised when I put them side by side and went, wow, there's quite a lot of difference there. I kind of wish Radiomaster had two versions of the T15, one with colour and one with the black and white. You could argue the box is the black and white one. Does the box with TPU protector work on the TF15? Do you know what? I haven't tried. I need to check because I haven't got one on it myself. Carbon looks cheap. I quite like it. It is fake though. Do I think the TX15 is better than the TX16? They're different radios. It's hard to say better. Yes, it's a better choice today because it's got the better processor. And it is worth mentioning that one of the big benefits of this, EdgeTX is in transition. And if you're going to buy a color radio right now, you want to be buying one with a H processor. And that is only this, if I'm honest. And the reason is EdgeTX 3.0 is going to be supporting H7 only with new radios. They will take upgrades forward. So existing F4 radios will go to TX15. However, sorry, EdgeTX 3.0. However, you want a H7 radio. I hope Radiomaster come out with a upgraded version of the TX16. I don't know nothing about it. I hope they do. It'd be great to see. Some people want color radios, some people don't. Some people want UI, some people don't. I think now EdgeTX, I haven't seen anything that's been spoken about on this, because if you look at the EdgeTX roadmap, there's talk of new UI navigation with configurable OS features based on model type. I would love to see a complete rewrite of EdgeTX OS in 3.0. It needs it now. It'll be great to see a nice new OS. Unified targets, new Lua setup. 4.0 is quite big, because you can see 4.0 is they're splitting the code base, which is quite cool to see as well. But there's some cool stuff. Multiple telemetry streams. Cool new features. Will the AGO1s fit in the Max? AGO1s and AGO2s are physically the same fitment, but they do have different connectors. Just take that into account. They've gone for JST-GH now. So yeah, look, there's some cool stuff coming. I do wonder if the RF module from the TX15 will fit in the Boxer. No, it won't. So if you watch my video, it is an all-new connector. Look, could you jank it? Probably. Right? The truth is, I didn't... Have I got the pictures on here? 1 second. Are they on this SD card? I haven't taken the pictures off yet. Let me just check this. I can't remember which SD card I was using, so I need to check. But I have the internal pictures of the module. I just now need to check. Oh, it should be this. Is it these? Yes, it is. So, if we have a look at the module. Right, okay. So this is the new module. So this is the new module in the Radiomaster. So it uses an all-new edge connector. So it is not as simple as saying, I'm going to put it into another radio. It's completely new connections. This isn't compatible with any of the other radios. This is the first Radiomaster radio I've seen with this edge connector on. Technically, it's going to be a UART. So technically, you could pin this out and manually wire it and shoehorn it in. Is it impossible? No. Is it easy? No. The radio module doesn't slot in the same. That's the top end of it. There's no pass-through connector on it. What is the 4R7 thingy? That'll be a resistor. But yeah, so look. That is very different to what we've seen before. So, yeah, look, you're not going to be putting that in anything anytime soon. R470, oh yeah, they're inductors. Yeah, sorry, they're inductors. 4R7, those two are inductors. They're coils for the becks. So you've got two becks on board, one beck there, one beck there. You can see you've got a power input protection diode. So you've got your power input here, power protection diode, capacitor going into the first voltage regulator. First voltage regulator, you've got a big capacitor there. That'll be a tantalum. It's a nice big tantalum cap. And then you've got your next one over here. So, yeah, it's a very, very, very different module. But how does it taste? What is incredibly cool in this radio, and I have to show you that, and it's this. That H7 board, this is very cool. This is very, very cool. Cool. Initially self-taught and then moved into engineering. I was fixing ham radios at 14, mind. Maybe 13. I was messing. Well, I started with modifying HF sets to work on SEPT, and then below 27 megs in the UK, messing around with the with the PLL VCOs, and then I used to fix ham radios. I used to love messing around with the CBs and then pushing them down. So messing with the oscillators to get them out of band so you could talk to people where others couldn't hear you. Because you remember when everyone was in CBs, you were all on the same band. So we always wanted to talk to people where others couldn't hear you, or at least shouldn't be able to hear you without a scanner. So what we would do is push ourselves down, and then SEPT appeared, and then we pushed down into SEPT at 26 megs, and then we would push even lower down to 25 megs. Oh God, well, if I go back to the unofficial days, I was at 163 Delta Tango 220. But my ham, that's a long time ago. But yeah, this is very, very cool. I used to love spending time with 1,000 watt valve amplifiers and 18-foot Yagi in the garden, and military coax that I acquired. I have some coax, which is basically copper pipe at one point. It was corrugated. But look, this module is very cool indeed, and it'll be interesting to see. It's quite funny because the way I worded it in the video was wrong. I sort of worded it in the video of saying I'll be interested to see with this board appears. I was also meaning that with this appears, yes, you're going to see this appear in other radios. It's inevitable. But yeah, very cool what Radiomaster have done here. You've got SRAM, you've got your ROM storage, your NAND over here. So that's your 4 gig of storage. You've got your SRAM, and then you've got a it's a Giga Devices flash chip. I was going to say WinBond, it's a Giga Devices, same thing. And then you've got your STM32H750. So yeah, very cool indeed. But look, it's even like little things like this. Look, can you see the bond in there on the cap? You know, look, that's interesting. They've gone over that to try and stop issues. You know, there's put a bit of bonding in. Radio does have a mic. Yes, it is here. There is the microphone. Now, there was also a lot of confusion over the battery. Yes, the battery's soldered, but the battery is rechargeable. So don't worry. The reason it's soldered, it's rechargeable. It is rechargeable. So you don't have to worry about swapping it. It's a rechargeable battery, which is good news. Yeah, the microphone is there. Yeah, I would love to see some sort of AI functionality. You know, what is my battery voltage? That would be very cool. And that's why you've got the button on the back of the board, because the button on the back of the board is allowing you to reset the battery power, because you need to be able to reset the built-in rechargeable. So that's why down the bottom here you have a button because you need it. What's also cool is the amount of UARTs in this radio. That's not the best picture. Oh, let me turn that radio off. The amount of UARTs in this radio is crazy. Look at all of these UARTs. Loads of UARTs. UART 3, 4, and 5. All spare. All spare. That is very cool. Very, very cool indeed. Be interesting to see what's going to happen around that. Connected and padded. Really well done, this radio. Really is very, very well done. So, yeah. That's the TX15. No point spending too much time on it. There's a full review. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what EdgeTX does. What I would say is this. If you're in a market for a colour radio, I would be waiting now for what you're looking for to come out in a H7 CPU or get the TX15. I don't think anyone should buy a colour radio that isn't based on the H chipset a minute. I would hold station and wait. With these changes with EdgeTX around the corner, and we don't, look, it could happen forever. But the truth is, I would try and hold out if you can get it, or get yourself the TX15. It's a good radio, but no one needs a colour screen. If you don't want a colour screen, go and get yourself a Boxer. Go and get yourself... I think this is price difficult now. The price of this doesn't make sense now. Now you tell me, though. But look, if you buy a radio today, it's still going to move into EdgeTX 3.0. They've already committed to it. It's just once EdgeTX 3.0 releases, they won't add any more F4 radios. It's not bad in the field. I've not found it bad. How more? Look, Boxer's brilliant. Boxer's brilliant because you haven't got to worry because it's not a colour radio. F4. One thing, what I was interested in before I move on from, I'm just going to turn my aircon on. It's a bit hot in here. One moment. I'll be back. Temperature is rising up in here. Oh, my duct isn't in my face. That's better. I need a bit of airflow. It's amazing the amount of people who sort of discounted this radio because it doesn't have Gemini X. I fundamentally believe the amount of people who need Gemini and Gemini X is minimal. From a racing perspective, I get there are people who want Gemini because they want to be able to use dual DK500. But the amount of people who actually need Gemini and Gemini X is minimal. And I don't think it's any slight on that radio not having it. I love the fact it has dual band, but I don't think it needs Gemini at all. I don't think it needs Gemini. And if you want Gemini, put a module in it, as someone just said. So I can just use 900 on TX15 if it has Gemini. Yeah, well, Gemini, remember, is the same band. Gemini X is dual band. So, yeah. The GX12 is dual 1 watt. This is single 1 watt. 1 watt is enough for most. Yeah. I don't think many people need Gemini X. Now, before I move on from the radio, there is one last thing I want to mention. And that is, there seems to be some confusion. Okay, there has been a lot of talk about Gemini X causing interference on HD0 and GPS. Now, this has been a discussion on ExpressRS groups, my Discord, and I've done some testing, which I haven't published. I've put some stuff together, which I shared with the devs, but I haven't put it in a video for a reason, because I'm still doing testing. Whilst there is definitely some strange behavior, there is nothing specifically wrong with the dual LR1121 chipsets. So there's someone saying, oh, but it's an LR1121 chipset and I won't be able to use it. There's no difference on an LR1121 than there is an SX1280 on single band. There is quirks using Gemini and Gemini X around other hardware, and we're still trying to fully understand those quirks. Some of it is measurement issues. I now agree. Some of it is harmonics. Some of it is the nature of putting all of this RF together. What people have to understand is if you're going to put two dual band 1 watt of output next to something, it's going to cause problems. There is no fundamental issue though with the LR1121 chipset, and therefore there is no issues using it with any of the other systems. It's not that there's a specific thing. We are getting to the point of dual transmission being a problem with other equipment. It doesn't mean the dual transmission is out and out wrong. I think there is some improvements that could be made, but yeah. Moz 7 Vision 2 has 915 2.4 gigs GemX dual band. I just want to check I can use my Boxer for now on 2.4. Yeah, absolutely. You should be able to just use the Boxer on 2.4 with that receiver. Yeah, you should just... Some of the modes are not available between the Gemini and the SX and the LR chipsets, but it should absolutely work. The price, you do pay more for a Gemini receiver. Yeah. But yeah, you should absolutely be able to use just 2.4. And if anything, the receiver should act like it's got diversity. Will current ExpressRS hardware be out of date? No. ExpressRS is flying along. Look, it's got more than any of us ever need. Remote control system is just peaked and they're still adding stuff. You know, the team is still tweaking, still adding stuff. We're at peak RC control systems now. You know, we really are. So look, that's the radios. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Yes, I will do a check on that 2.4 gigs transmission when I get a chance. I don't believe DJI will have changed it. I don't believe they can change it. I don't think there's any way they can change it easily. They probably can, but I don't think they will change it. Yeah, we will do a check on that just to see. It's funny, I can buy a pack of 5 ExpressRSs for $109. Yeah, exactly. Right. Massive news. Enormous news. The two biggest FPV companies have released firmware updates. I have just put a video out about this for their products. DJI have released a firmware update for the Goggles 3, Goggles N3, as well as pretty much all of their current display-based remote controllers. That adds an incredible feature you have all been asking for, you have all been waiting for, and that new feature is a way of DJI data mining your date of birth. Because what DJI have done is introduced a new lock feature to the Goggles 3, Goggles N3, the remote controllers, that asks you for an 8-digit password. And the simplest 8-digit password most people will have is their date of birth. So rather than DJI introducing a screen lock, it is my belief, based on someone's comment online that hinted me to the fact of date of birth 8 digits, because I forgot, is that DJI are mining your data. And the reason they've added this passcode is for you to put in your date of birth so they know how old you are. Now, I'm not the only person that thinks this, because I went on Twitter and found a post by this guy that says DJI introduced new firmware for goggles and remotes that adds screen lock with an 8-digit password. Is DJI trying to data mine users' date of births? So this guy knows. He has been listening. He is watching. He also put a post out about Caddx's firmware update as well, which said Caddx released their first update in a year that added a new feature for Avatar HD. They added a shortcut to the menu. I'm ecstatic, overwhelmed, and excited with joy. And the truth is, both of these companies have released firmware updates, and they are absolutely taking the piss. Now, the DJI one, I've put the video out. It's a screen lock that you set an 8-digit password on, and you can't use the goggles without putting that password in. You can bypass it if you downgrade the firmware. At this moment in time, DJI haven't taken that option away. I have no idea what drugs DJI are taking, what reason there is, but it's not just this they've done it to. They have added this firmware update to the RC2 and the RC Pro 2. They've added this screen lock to like everything that's current that has a display. Now, I don't know what this is about. Honestly, no, it's not to unbind anything. It's to stop you using the product without putting in the screen slot. It is not on as default, so when you turn it, you update, it's not on until you turn it on. You set the password, but just be warned. If you set the password and you can't remember it, you can't use your goggles. The only way around this is if you downgrade the firmware. You can turn it off, but you'll need the password to turn it off. But basically, the goggles will boot to a fixed screen. So let me just find this DJI and Caddx updates. I'll show you what they boot to. They boot to a screen that looks like this, that you've got to put the password in on. It must be 8 digits. It doesn't accept less, as far as I can tell. And you can't do anything until you put in the password. It's bizarre, guys. I don't get what this is about. I just do not understand. Now, just to show you where you set this up. So you go into... I have shown this in the video, but for those who haven't seen it, I will put it here now. You go into the settings menu, which will come up now in a second. You go down to About, and then you can see you've got screen lock now at the bottom. But I just don't get, of all of the things, why this? Why does it need this? I just don't understand it. 4-digit pin would have absolutely been better. It then asks you for a pin like this. It looks like that when you set it up. You put the 8-digit pin in. You don't have to use it. It's not on as default. But you can now basically put a password on that stops anyone using your goggles or your remote. Someone said 4-pin breaks easily. I'm sorry, but what need is there for a security lock on the DJI goggles that can't be broken easily? Yes, it asked for it twice. To keep the kids from flying your stuff. Yeah. All this while your VTX overheats. Now, I have no idea. I have honestly no idea why. Just what, of all of the things, why? Why this? Why an 8-digit password? What does this is needed for? Who asked for this? I have no idea. How long before someone locks out their goggles? I hope DJI don't take away the firmware. That's for sure. If you downgrade the firmware and it doesn't get rid of the password, it's still there, it's just you can use the goggles. If you re-upload the firmware, it goes back to using the password you used before again. Military personnel asked for this. I don't know. I do not know where this has come from. Whoa. It's a security reason. Look, the only thing I can think of is has someone sued DJI for a personal injury because their kid got hold of it and tried using it, and this is an overreaction? I don't know. Look, I just don't know. Perhaps it's from... Look, you know, if this was something in China, DJI would have just added it to the China firmware. It's weird. This must have taken some development as well. This feature must have needed some dev time because you're locking out the goggles on boot. There is, to make sure this works properly, there's a lot of code gone into this on all the remote controllers on this. This isn't just a few lines of code and that's it. It's quite a big thing to have done. American government needs the locks. I don't know. Why would the American government need the lock? It doesn't make sense. Yeah, no. I tried all of the usual stuff to bypass it. It's I haven't got to the walk snail update yet. No, we'll talk about that in a second. Let me just move my aircon outlet. It's not in my face and I'm getting hot. There we go. That's better. Honestly, I have no idea. It's just beyond a joke. It just doesn't... I don't get it. I just don't get it. But, hey. And whilst we're talking about things... Obviously, Caddx have also put out new firmware quietly for Avatar HD, version 3944.3. I have spoke about this in the video. However, if I go to downloads and we go to the firmware updates and we go to firmware update log, which is this one here. So you can now see here, this is the new firmware. Basically, it looks like the GT. I thought there was a GT2 coming. That's what Caddx told us. Remember? Caddx said GT2. This doesn't seem to be GT2. This seems to hint of, due to component discontinuation for the Avatar HD GT2 at VTX, new batches of GT require firmware version this. Well, that's not a GT2. We were told a GT2 is coming. Well, that ain't it. Added support for the HD Pro version 2 camera. So, they are releasing another camera. Good news. And they've added a gimbal lock function. Now, I have to say, I think this gimbal lock function is quite good. But this is the first firmware update in a year to bring new features, and they've added a gimbal lock update. In a year, they have added a gimbal lock update. And I'm not going mad. If I go to the Caddx website and go to their firmware update record, so 3843.4, this is the last update that brought anything new, and that's not even got new features. That added support for the new hardware. 25th of the 3rd, March. March is the last time they released firmware that added something. There is a firmware update out after this, but it was for the Goggles X only. If we look at Caddx's website, 3843.13, so that is actually a different version, right? Let's download that. That was 430 meg. And do I really want to download this while streaming? It's nearly there. So if we go into this and go into firmware and update log, this firmware simply added support for the new Goggles X. I'm at a loss. Caddx, this is the first... They have not added a feature in over 12 months, according to this. What's the firmware repository called for Avatar HD? I can't remember what it's called. The third-party one. Walk Snail Hub. Here we go. Okay, so wait a minute. Wait a minute. They don't even have these updates in their record. So their own release notes don't even have these. They have this. So they basically have not even updated their own bloody release notes. Because there is a firmware in October, and according to this, Moonlight now records OSD files, toggle Wi-Fi on and off using text, Moonlight camera connected to the VX models, added ratio function in gimbal. Their own firmware update log on their own website is out of date. And this is what you're dealing with. And there's another one here, look. Honest to God. How? You know, this is a third-party website. This isn't official. This isn't Caddx's site. Honestly, it is an absolute joke. It is an absolute joke. Look, this is from their own website. But anyways, what they have given us is an update that allows you to lock the gimbal. And actually, I think it's a nice little feature. Does it warrant? Should there have been more? As I said in the video, I think what I would have liked to have seen is the update. If you're going to add shortcuts for one item, why not just make it so you could set shortcuts on the 5D button? That would have been great. I think a really nice feature on the Goggles X is that you could set the 5D button to act as shortcuts for any of the options that are on and off in the system. So for instance, turn on and off low power mode, change bitrate, high and low bitrate, change recorder mode, 720p, 1080p. Have that as programmable as menu selection options for the 5D button. That would have been good. Not adding a single function via the 5D menu button. It begs belief. It does. And I am, look, I expected more from Caddx, but hey, they can't even get their own release notes right. So what are we meant to do? You know, when they can't even post their own release notes right. This is nonsense. Absolutely nonsense. That you can't even go to the official website to see the correct firmwares. And look, they're both as bad as each other. DJI and Caddx are basically now in a race to see which one can say F you to us quicker. Frankly, because that's how it feels. It feels like both of them are basically saying F you. You know. And here's the worst part. I said this in the video. We expect it from DJI. We know we're going to get it from DJI. DJI don't care about us. DJI don't care about FPV. They don't give two tosses. That's the reality. It's a tiny market. They're in it for fun. We should be grateful for what we get, is the truth of it. However, Caddx is meant to be the one pushing forward. Just look at what HD0 have added to their goggle system. The menu options, the control options. I'd love to see a bit of that. Let's have a bit of it. Let's have some of the functionality. If you can't give the bits to people, you know, we can have all of this stuff, but we're not even getting it. And yeah, look, I wish DJI would allow you to show and hide certain models on the screen. Yeah, absolutely. I wish 04 would actually connect automatically. I think DJI should just have it. If it's a bound model, just connect. When you boot the Goggles 3 up and you're on 04 instead of 04 Pro, when you boot up an 04 Pro, it knows it's there because it says you're in the wrong mode. It should just say, do you wish to switch? You know, or I'm going to switch for you. If it's not already connected to another one, it should be doing. But Caddx should be doing more than they are. So. But anyways, what the release notes that are there tell us with this new update is that there is a new camera coming. So we're going to have our Avatar HD Pro version 2. Great. Caddx have already told us that a Moonlight 2 and a GT2 is meant to be coming. I assume this is the GT2, which doesn't sound like a GT2. Because why would you write it like this if you weren't making a GT2? You would just say, added support for Caddx Avatar HD GT version 2. Why are you saying, so the new batch is a GT? I'm intrigued what's changed. I want to have a look. I bet you they have changed the microcontroller. What is in the GT? It's been a while since I looked in the GT. So what is in the GT? I'm trying to remember what DVR chip they had. So there's no, that's a point. So there's no custom DVR chip in the GT. It's using the main SOC, the GT. I wonder what has changed on the GT. That is interesting. Because here's the truth. If the GT needs new firmware, all of the VTXs should need new firmware. Maybe different power amplifiers. Maybe. Because the GT has the same main chipset, IE 2000, Dialog. All of that is the same. There's no... That is interesting. Unless they've changed the make of the NAND. But if they're doing the NAND and the ROM change, then that would be on every VTX. Because it's the same. It's the same process. It's the same setup. The GT is basically the standard VTX, but with a big RF front end. So you can see, there's the big RF front end with the power amplifiers. Now, they might have changed the PAs, I guess. But, yeah, change the PAs, probably needs new firmware. Probably. Probably the PA. There's bugger all else in it. Hey, let's hope they put the UART on the outside this time, whatever else they've changed. Instead of hiding it on board. Because only Caddx could release a VTX at the same time as their gimbal, and it wasn't compatible. Even though they showed it in the images. Even though they showed it in the images. Just remember, in the marketing images, in the original ones, I don't know if it's still here. I want to go and have a look. There was a picture of a truck with it on, and they had the GT on the back. I wonder... Or was that the Moonlight with a fan? Might have been the Moonlight with a fan, actually. I thought there was a picture with the GT. But look, this... where's the release notes? I've lost them. There's a new Avatar Pro HD Vision 2 coming. I'm guessing that's going to come with the Moonlight 2, is it? There's meant to be the Moonlight 2, so I'm guessing that's going to come with the Moonlight 2. All we're going to do is wait and see. Look, it's nice that they've woken up. I have seen someone ask, DJI and the US. Nothing has changed, and it is rolling on. There was talk of DJI stock appearing in the US in August. I have to say, it's looking more and more unlikely. What is very interesting is this week DJI released the Osmo 360. And that also isn't available yet in the US. So I believe it's not here yet. I'm going to change this to the United States. I don't think you could... I read one review that said it was coming later. Yeah, see, look, it's not available in the US yet either. Out of stock. So even their new action camera isn't available in the US. It's insane. Has anyone put Packet Sniffer? Yeah, look, DJI drones have been hacked and monitored to hell. Yes, data is going to China. No, they're not stealing. There are backdoors, but again, very little information has really been found to be that they're stealing anyone's data. There is some communication with servers, but the truth is DJI is not stealing everyone's data. Oh my God, Mike Bundy. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Someone just said DJI is boycotting the US. It's true. I actually think China is boycotting the US. The 360X5 is going really well, yeah. DJI, look, is still not available here. I think they just fly balloons overhead just to make fun. US is boycotting the US. Yeah, sounds about right. I was watching a program on Vegas. I was watching something online about Vegas. Does anyone live near Vegas on the stream? You might be able to answer something because I don't know if it was Facebook propaganda or truth. Anyone here near Vegas? Anyone here? What I was listening to was a guy who was saying he was traveling through and it's an exodus. Apparently numbers are like no one is going to Vegas. Okay, not from within the US, ignore within the US, but externally. I'm being told that like no external visitors are going to the US. I don't know if it's true. I'm intrigued if Vegas is suffering that much, because I know Canada was a very big, Canadians were a very big goer to Vegas, and apparently they're boycotting it. Can't say I blame them, if I'm honest, but a bit confusing. So let's see. But look, DJI have released the Osmo 360. I can't say I'm remotely excited. I love the idea of a 360 camera. I just don't find this exciting. I don't think this form factor is ideal, I actually think that Insta360 have a better form factor on the X5. The longer, thinner. I think that's a better form factor than that. I'm not convinced I like that stubby. That hanging off things isn't ideal. Yes, I have seen the guy who released a drone for 360 cameras. Empty airports in the US. Yeah, that was the vid I watched. Yeah. I'm not sure DJI got the form factor right on this, if I'm honest. So, can anyone remember the name of the drone that guy released? I did see it, and I can't remember what it's called. Billy said it's a game changer. The 360 is a better form factor. Yeah. This feels too short and stumpy to me. Cinebird. Was that it? I think it's... Is it this? Yeah, it's this one here. Where's the web? So this is the drone here, and it's designed to take a 360 camera up front. It looked really interesting. I'm just going to mute because I got demonetized last week for playing the Caddx video. I'll talk about that in a minute. Caddx demonetized me. No, it wasn't Caddx. It was the music. So that's it with the 360 camera. So is there flight footage from this? Is there anything on YouTube? No. Here, so that's his one from before. Is there any footage from the new one? Also, X-Night 360 quadcopter is another one. This might have been the the Beta FPV, yeah. Yeah, there's a few. Luminaries one. Yeah, well, I remember the Lumineer one, which was insane money. If I remember the Lumineer one. They were on drugs when they were doing that. But yeah, look, DJI have... Look, I'm not really excited about this. I don't think the form factor's great. I think DJI have got it a little bit off. I personally would have... I think the Insta360... is a better, oh no, not Instagram. And something I will say is this, everything I've read, the form factor is better, honestly, you have both. What, the DJI form factor or the Insta360 form factor? Which form factor is better? X5 is heavier. DJI is better. Interesting. So, look, where Insta will win is their software. DJI will take some catching up on the software on this. DJI have never made good accompanying software. Their apps are quite good, but PC-based software, I can see DJI having an issue. I also don't like the fact it's fixed lenses. I think DJI have made a mistake there, and it should have had interchangeable lenses. The fact you've got to send it back to DJI to swap the lenses is madness. It even looks like you can pop it off, which is frustrating, but the fact that you can't pop off the lens, I think, is a mistake. That is one thing I do think is a mistake. If you scratch it, you've got to send it back to DJI. So look, it's a good attempt, that's for sure. I'd love to play with one. I tell you something, I cannot justify. What are we in the UK for this? What's the pricing of this thing in the Great British Kingdoms? Oh, 409 quid. Standard combo. It's 539 quid for the adventure combo. Look at that. Is a lot. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. I would love to try one a bit. I would love to have a proper play with a 360 camera because I'd love it. I think I might love it. Wow. Chris, you did well. But I'm $500. I would love to have a play. I genuinely would love to have a play. But $539 for the full kit. See, what's in the standard combo? Yeah, you don't even get a stick, look. Yeah, it does look like there's a wenge under the lens, definitely. You'd have thought, though, if they were going to release it with a replaceable lens, they'd have done it from day one. The DJI definitely looked less soft in the fringes. When I was looking at the footage, DJI definitely looked less soft, sharper. The DJI looks really nice. Also, the DJI records at higher. It's a 1-inch sensor as well, isn't it? It's the good thing with the DJI. You have got a nice 1-inch sensor on it. Crazy, though, that this product has not launched in the US. Crazy that this product has not launched in the US as well. 4K 120, very cool. Be interesting to know what chipset they're using in this. Has anyone done a teardown on this yet? Has anyone seen a teardown on this? Because that is going to be interesting. I want to see what's inside. What ISP are they using? Don't think the internal images are there yet, are they? I don't think we have the internal images yet. Let's just have a look. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. We frickin' might, you know. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. Come on, give me the PDF. It's not giving me the PDF. Come on. It's playing silly buggers with the PDF. No! Too many ads. Doesn't want to give me the PDF. So, come on, FCCIO, give me the PDF. Hey, okay. So, now let's have a look. So you can see inside. Wow, what is that mirrors? Is that mirrors for the lenses? So yeah, so the sensors are on the side. Okay, so the sensor is there and they use a mirror either side. Okay, I was not expecting that. Is that how Insta do it? Interesting. Yeah, okay. So there you can see the sensor board. Okay. Let's zoom out a little bit. What we got there. Connection, probably an antenna. Right, we got the main control board. Single board. Come on, come on. Hey, hey, we got NAND on that side. These are NAND. These memory. Come on, give us the other side. What we got? What we got? Eh? Where's the main chipset? That's memory. It's stacked. Oh my God. It's stacked. Is that? It is. They have stacked the NAND on top of the chipset. Oh, that is new. That is brand new. We have never seen DJI do that before. Now, the question is that a new DJI chipset? Junus, you around? You need to do some digging. Or is that something off the shelf? Wow. Okay. We are into new territory now. You boys need to do some digging. That is very interesting. Very interesting. So on the back side of the board, you've got NAND SRAM, power, probably Wi-Fi. This is the new Osmo 360 and fine. Battery. Let's just zoom out a bit more. Battery. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth antenna at the top, look. Wi-Fi antenna 1. Yeah, pretty much it. Okay. That is interesting and that is new. Because that opens the door. That opens a huge door when it comes to VTXs in the future. This isn't just about what you see here. This is about what we see next. Because if they can start stacking, that gets very interesting. Your bet is for an Umbrella CV5 chipset. Could be. Could be an Umbrella. What are they using? What's the Umbrella CV5? Is Umbrella CV5 got stacked NAND available? No, I'm not seeing stacked NAND on that. That is incredibly interesting. The fact, because that would mean it's that is new. NAND on chip directly. Yeah, that is a hint of the future right there of DJI drones and DJI air units. You can see the outline of the main SOC there. So just for the people who can't see this, if I take it as a screenshot and bring it over so you guys can see it. And if we draw around, so the main IC is there with the NAND there in the center. That is very cool. Actually, if I do it, there you go. There's the... That is very, very cool. Okay. The 360 has just got a lot more interesting. Ooh. Would NAND on top of the chip prevent proper heat dissipation? Look, NAND on chip is 3D cache on chips, NAND on chips. Look, we've got CPUs with on-chip memory. Cooling is always complex. Was shown in some honest opinions. All action cameras overheat. All of the action cameras overheat. I have seen Philip Bloom talking about he had his overheating in the UK. It's how fast can you get hit. The problem with an action camera is there's no airflow. You're completely passive cooling. So you're relying on airflow. So you've got to determine what is overheating. If you look at this camera, right, so if we just quickly do this, it's not got a fan in it. It can't have a fan in it. It's not going to be able, you know, it's trying to push the heat out. So if we look in the chassis, so in here we can actually see their thermal cooling solution here. So it is pushing all of that heat to that front plate. And the rest of the heat to this aluminium inner skeleton that you can see there as well. But it's passive, so it can't go anywhere without airflow over the casing. It needs airflow over it externally. So it depends, you know, look, I appreciate the honest reviews, exactly the stuff I was talking about earlier. But you have to say, how is it going to behave on a desk versus how is it going to behave on a motorcycle, as someone's just said there. I think none of these action cameras are going to behave on a bench and try to maintain their temperature. It's not easy these days. We're plumping watts of power into these. We're expecting a lot. The NAND will have a thermal effect, but is that the cause of overheating? It's hard to know. It's really hard to know. That is a cool design, though. That is very cool. Right, I need to say something before I move forward. 2 people have given super chats tonight. I want to say a huge thank you. Collar123, $2. Gamepad Style King, prove me otherwise. Thank you, my friend. You could be right. I really appreciate it. And Mike Bundy, the legend himself, who is an incredible supporter of this channel, has given $49.99, $50 basically. You are my friend, unbelievable. I love you. You are amazing. I just blows me away. It really does. That is incredible. Can I install the AG1 Nanos in the Jumper T14? I don't know. I've not done it myself. I can't comment on it, I'm afraid. Right. Before we wrap up tonight's stream, I want to talk about the Wyvern link. If you guys have got any questions, now's the time to put them in the chat while I just go over this quickly. Emax said they were sending me these ages ago and they never arrived. And then this week, they've turned up. So I finally got the new Wyvern link kit, which is their OpenIPC VRX ground station. So I finally got this. This is a bit like the RunCam one, but it's slightly different. It's only got 2 antenna ports. Let me refocus that camera. That camera focus is off. So this one only has 2 antenna ports. Really small though. Has a link cable from the front to the back board. It's basically like a Redaxer at the front and an RF board at the back. But that's quite nice and small. And I have to say, that is really quite a nice little design. I like that. I like that indeed. Yeah, that's quite nice. I haven't tried it yet. It literally has just come in. So that has arrived for OpenIPC. And then I haven't even opened this, as you can see. It is still sealed. So let's do the down the side with a blade. Put that in the bin. Try and get this out of this box now without destroying it, because I need this for the review. Oh, wow. That's a biggie. 800 milliwatts. Okay. That is a biggie. That's a... Oh, my God. That is a monster. Look at that. Oh, wow. SD card slot connection. Fan on the top. MMCX on the antennas. Aluminium, I may add. Wow. That is a chunky one. Mounting on the bottom. Camera. I don't know what sensor is on this. But that's their new camera. Very nice indeed. And they also then give antennas. So we've got fly leads with antennas, network connection, and some cables there. Wow. That is... Look, I think this is more aimed at ground-based applications and other things like that. That is very well put together, I have to say. I like that indeed. That's cool. That is heavy, though. Yeah. I'm not going to say that's light. If anyone wants to know what that weighs, let's just do it. Yeah, wing-based. So for the VTX on its own, should I just check? I always check the scales. There we go. Let me just get the white powder off the top. There we go. 40 grams. 50 grams with the camera. So pretty chunky, but very interesting. So I will be looking at that. Yeah, that's heavy. That is heavy. Put me foam strips back underneath. Perfect for sub 250 builds. There there we go. So yeah, that's that. So I've just had that in as well. Any workaround for XS head tracker wireless? What do you mean workaround? As in only if it actually works? Well, yes. What do you mean by workaround? Today, long range blew my mind with a mod I did for the goggles too, mounting 3 times 17 hexagonal antennas and 1 omnidirectional close-up, so I don't get the I don't get the maximum bit rate, but a 5 kilometer I was 46 to 50. That's pretty cool. Andy RC mentioned it might be possible. So the XF head tracker is I've forgotten the frequency. Is it 433? I'm sure it's 433, is it not? Off the top of my head. I am 99% it's 433 megahertz. If you want to use the GM series, C series of gimbals on DJI, you have to use that head tracker. There is no way, unfortunately, to use a head tracker with DJI. I've reviewed it. I am 99% that's 433, not 866. I'm sure it's 433. I always struggle to get their website. C20 gimbal. Their website is nightmare to get. Not the mobile one. I want the full size one. It's xanafi.com and it always comes up with their mobile site first. Every time. And I don't know why. Where is... Right, that's the proper one. I am sure the head tracker is 433. I just want to make sure I'm not going mad. I'm sure they don't tell you the spec. No, 2.4 gigs. Sorry, no, 2.4. Yes, because it's basically on, it's behaving like ExpressRS. It's coming to me now. I have a video on this and I've forgotten. That's the problem. Yes, sorry. I actually talked about this. I even showed the RF. I should have gone and watched my own video. Couldn't remember. Yes, 2.4 gigs. There is no easy way around it. Obviously, if you're flying, you're going to want to fly with 868-900. Yeah, I know I reviewed it. I can't remember it. Believe it or not, I can't actually remember everything. I didn't really have any problems with it using it with 2.4, but if you were doing long range, I would use 868-900. There is no way to use the DJI with it internally. DJI are basically twats, and it would be amazing if DJI gave us PPM input on the goggles via USB, but they don't. What's really frustrating is DJI have done head tracking before. It's really annoying they don't output head tracking via S-Bus or something on the ear units. If they actually cared, they would. Yeah, I used it. I used the video one. It's okay to fly with, but it's not ideal. Caddx have a very nice setup with their integration of the gimbals and their VTX. They do have a very nice setup on it. Soaptorp, thank you for the 1000 HUF. I don't know how much that is, but I really appreciate it. Thank you for that. Any questions now, guys? Please do put it in the comments. I'm finishing up a couple of videos on some stuff. I'm trying to get the 04 lens video finished. I was flying it today, the wide angle lens kit. I'm definitely getting some vignetting in the live view on the 04 wide lens kit. I'll also tell you now, you are absolutely in sunlight as well, getting some reflections. Okay, now I don't know if it's off the front glass or it's off the wide angle lens. But in my flights today, I was getting some internal lens reflections. I'm not sure how much of a perfect solution that extra lens kit is going to be. Do I think OpenIPC has some future now that manufacturers are starting to put some work into it? Yeah, look, it has a place. That everything has a place. I think it's far from mature. It doesn't know where its place is yet, and I still think there are too many people who seem to think that getting to DJI's level is just 6 months away, or DJI is doing really simple things. You know, I see comments all of the time that, oh, you know, DJI 04 is only like that because DJI is a better camera. DJI is fundamentally leap years ahead of everyone else. Can you remove the fan? I don't know. I'll have to do that in the review. So, look, OpenIPC is still Wi-Fi derived. Whatever we say, it is still Wi-Fi derived. There is no... If this was easy as just putting together some open source software and putting some things together, someone else would have done it. OpenIPC have done what no one else has, but I still have not got an OpenIPC system that I deem as flyable. And that is still fact. Everything I have tested, I deem unusable for everyday use. It is not at the acceptable level for me. T3 was absolutely usable. Not perfect, but absolutely flyable. Nice stable link. Low signal behavior was a bit cliff edgy. I get that wasn't perfect. But the link behaved perfectly. The odd stutter, but the link largely worked fine. I still, as I showed in those videos, there's no hiding in those videos. There's no lying in those videos. I have no reason to say T3 is great and OpenIPC isn't. Runcam are a great supporter of my channel, and I would have loved to have said great things about that as I did the T3, and the T3 is not perfect by any means. There's loads of nonsense and BS going on there. But again, OpenIPC still has not got, as I've tested so far, the feeling of normal FPV. Now, I haven't got to fly the AP FPV yet. It's all set up. I just haven't had a chance to get out and fly it. I want to try AP FPV. But OpenIPC with WFBNG, it's alpha unrecommendable to everyday users. And that's not me being nasty. I know the devs hate me. They'll hate me for saying it again. My job here isn't to say what people want me to say. My job is to say how I find things. Others might tell you differently. And if they do, that's great. You know, I've been doing this a very long time. The likes of me and Andy RC have been around a long time. Andy was much bigger on YouTube in the earlier days than I was. I was still around. I've been around since 2012, 2013. I've been creeping around forums. Look, you don't get as many posts as I have on RC groups by of not being around. I've been around a very long time. The channel has been around since 2014. It's just no one watched it. You know, I've cleared out a lot of the older videos. I've been around a long, long time. And I've seen a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. And, you know, Can I sort, if we go on here, oldest. The oldest video is over 10 years ago on the channel, and that ain't the oldest ones. I actually removed a bunch of the older stuff. The oldest video is 10 years ago. You know, I was around YouTube from 2012, 2013. They go back a long way. Look at those goggles. You don't see goggles like the... You weren't in FPV if you didn't use the headplay HDs. You weren't flying FPV if you weren't flying the headplay HD. Is my headplay HD video still up? That video's got to be... Is that the video for it? The original review on the DJI FPV goggles. You don't see stuff like that anymore. Look at the views on some of these channels. Probably boring, like a lot of my content. I watched all of my Inspire. Yeah, look, here's the crazy thing. People don't realize this. I have made more content on the Inspire 1 and 2 than probably anyone else in the world. I used to make I was the only person telling people about firmware updates and what's changed. I was literally the only person doing this stuff because no one else was doing it. Yeah, the original DJI goggles, when you look back, yeah, they had the headband with the antennas and DJI had antennas in the top as well. It had the battery in it. I stopped making content on the ready-to-fly gear because you can't keep up. You can't make it pay. It's quite an interesting subject, and I've finished on this subject, actually, tonight. So, one of the car YouTube channels I was watching was talking about he's selling his Bugatti and his Ferrari because it no longer pays for him to keep the cars for YouTube. And he was talking about how he pays like $15,000 a month to buy this Bugatti, but the YouTube income is no longer covering it. And I'm thinking, people were buying cars based on YouTube income to make content. That in itself was insane. But it reminds me of this, right? There was a period where you could probably buy a drone like the Inspire and make the cost of it back through content over a 2 or 3 year period. Okay, so you bought the Inspire 2, you would make the content back over 2 to 3 years. It's not possible now. You couldn't buy an Inspire 3 and ever make that back in content at my size. The big Potato Jet will, and, you know, those guys will. But at my level, I used to be able to buy, say, a DJI Mavic, make a bunch of content and videos about it, and through the DJI affiliate links and YouTube income, basically break even or cover the difference in cost to upgrade to the next one when the next one came out. But what happened was the drones started coming out more frequently, which means you didn't have the time between the models to make up the cost difference. And the amount of money you made from content went down, which meant you couldn't make it pay. You know, so you ended up, and now we're in a position where most of these drone channels are now only surviving because DJI are sending them gear and paying for content. Don't think most of these views you watch on DJI drones are not paid for. Most of them are marketing budget. But you used to, as an independent, be able to buy the product and be able to then cover your cost over a period of time. And you can't do it now. You just can't do it. You couldn't buy... I couldn't buy a Neo and recover that cost, really, now. You just can't. The money is not in the content anymore. I'll be honest. my channel income now only actually works because of the sheer amount of videos I have. And Andy will know what I mean on this. It works because of the sheer amount of videos. Because there is always someone watching one of those videos. And that is what works. Individual content now won't pay. It wouldn't pay for this. I couldn't cover the cost of that in a video anymore. YouTube income would not cover the cost of the Wyvern. Anything I buy in, you could not cover the cost of it in content anymore. You used to be able to, not anymore. Those days are long gone. YouTube income is so little now, it's insane. It's just insane. It's a hobby. Yeah, look, look, without Patreons, it's game over. Honestly, without Patreons, this channel is gone. Gone, gone, gone. It doesn't pay anymore. And it's not that I'm not pleading poverty, I'm being truthful with you. And this is why I get annoyed by comments like Bruce on the affiliate income, because it's bullshit. I won't sell my soul for that. I'd rather shut the channel. I've said it before. I would rather shut the channel down than not be the open and honest person. That's the truth of it. And without Patreon, it's game over, because YouTube income doesn't cut it anymore. Time to open TikTok unboxing videos. Yeah, that's for sure. What's up? But yeah, look, but it makes me laugh. Look, there's no income in content anymore. It is game over. And it's interesting. The car industry seems to be going the same way. The car industry seems to be losing. For years, you've had this one-upmanship with Shmee, or whatever he calls himself, and others. And I believe the Shmee guy has generational wealth, as someone was saying. But these guys were buying cars and then trying to make money off it off YouTube. You're insane if you buy a product to... Matt Armstrong is absolutely the enigma. Matt Armstrong and a couple of others are the thing of the car world. You know, they are the Mr. Beast of the car world. And I don't mean it on the same level, but they are the enigmas. There are probably 0.00001% of people who are able to make it pay. Everyone else can't make it pay. You know, Casey Neistats, those guys, they were the 1%. You know, and I even wonder with Matt Armstrong how long he can do it. How many cars can he rebuild? How long before people just go, oh, it's just another car? Do you know what I mean on that? It's all temporary. Neistat, yeah. You know, how long can Matt Armstrong keep doing it? He's had a meteoric rise to where he is today, Matt has. It's incredible where he's got to. But how long is that achievable? You know, if you look at a business model, LTT is a great example. Gamers Nexus, LTT, Bardwell, they are channels based on something always changing. Reviews, new products. As long as there's a new product, as long as there's a review, there will be a need for those channels. When it comes to interest, you know, rebuilding cars, you know, are we expecting to see Matt Armstrong still doing it in 10 years' time? Oh, I've bought another wreck. How many people are going to be interested in that? You know, there needs to be enough new people coming through. And what I don't know about Matt Armstrong is how well his older videos do compared to the new ones. Is all of his about I get 10 million views on a video in the first month and that's it? Or is it about 10 plus I get the rest? Is 515 good price to pay for a brand new Moz 7 version 2 ELRS Gemini X with GPS? 7-inch, that's not bad money. 500-600 quid. Compared to iFlight pricing, iFlight are like the about right pricing on everything. So compare it to iFlight. Chimera Vision 2, 7 Vision 2, yeah. Matrice 4E or Mavic 3E today for ortho. I'd need to check 73 FPV. I haven't looked at the cameras in detail on them. Do you want to pop on the Discord? Because I'd like to look into that a bit more because you've paid some money. I'd like to just have a look. I need to have a look at the cameras. Is any of them got a global shutter? Depends if any of those two have got a global shutter. I don't remember off the top of my head if there's a global shutter on any of those two. Mavic 4 Enterprise. Yeah, look, a global shutter. If you've got a mechanical global shutter on any of them, absolutely. I don't think DJI have done mechanical shutters for a while. Both have mechanicals. Okay, now it's game on. So as long as you've both got mechanicals, it's game on. Right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. It is nearly midnight. Look after yourselves. Guys, if you're interested in supporting the channel, please consider checking out the link to my Patreon as well as buying me a coffee. Patreons, you are amazing. I could not do this without your support. Look after yourselves, stay safe, and I will speak to you soon. At $4.99, thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. I just saw that come in before I hit the end button. See you later, lads.